practice hard. I think they're excited for the atmosphere and looking forward to it. And got a lot of work to be done. I feel like we're behind playing catch up. So much to prepare for. They do a lot more defensively than they probably have in the past. Showing a lot of different looks, and then offensively they always have a ton to prepare for. So I think sometimes when you know the history of somebody, it can be worse because you try to prepare for everything you've seen. It makes it hard to do, and just got to get them ready. And that's what I think we're getting closer.
When you're trying to do that, when you're trying to prepare for everything you've seen, how do you balance that with just kind of also resting on all the concepts and everything you've taught, the core stuff that you're built on defensively and offensively?
Core stuff doesn't change much. You just try to expose them to what the opponent does that's different than what you see day to day. And Gus has always had a lot of different things. I mean, they got different tempos, they got different formations, they got different groupings. It's just a lot to prepare for. It's a lot of offense at the end of the day. And you got to be careful that you don't overload your kids with too much and paralyze them.
Coach, knows for Ben was an all-SEC selection or SEC Lineman of the Week and graded really, really high. Can you just talk about how he's fit in? And I know he's split a lot of time early on with Cade, but it seemed like he carried a little bit more this past week because of the center situation.
Yeah, he got to play a lot more. It seems like, I forget all the games, but he's been major role, minor role, big role. He's taking on all roles. He's kind of had that kind of career when you think about it. He was starting and playing, and he got the broken leg and bounced back from that. He's done a tremendous job. He was playing really good the other night, getting a lot of movement, playing with good pad level, and usually when Ben plays well, we play well. He helps give us some power over on the right side. So he did a nice job in that game and graded out well, and was happy to get him that award.
Coach, what is your relationship like with the state troopers that escort you on game days, and particularly Officer Sadler?
It's a joy. It's such a privilege to have a relationship with someone that gives so much to our community, to our state, and gives so much back to us. So I really enjoy Officer Sadler. They are with us year-round for events and obviously game days and traveling, but really appreciate the job those guys do. They make life much easier on us and much safer in our communities. And so right now it's probably one of the most thankless jobs out there.
Kirby, you guys have played in some tough atmospheres and against some good teams in SEC West road games. Is that what you would chalk up the tough times you guys have had in those environments?
I would chalk it up to good teams. At the end of the day, it's good football teams, good football programs. The atmospheres aren't really any different than playing on the East. I would say the level of talent and the teams we played have been pretty good, and just hadn't figured out a way to win one. We got to do that.
Coach, kind of going off of that, in those matchups, you've given up a lot of rushing yards, a lot of good rushing offenses in those games, like you said. Is that going to be one of the bigger keys in this game, stopping that run?
It's always important. I mean, you start with the line of scrimmage. If you can't run the ball and they can, you're probably in trouble. And if you give up explosives, it's probably a bigger sign than even the rush game. But we have struggled in those games to stop the run, and something that we take pride in and have done a better job this year at stopping it. But this is a team very similar to ours, caliber of being able to run the ball. They are a stubborn run team. They're committed to the run and want to find different ways to do it. They've always done that well.
And then in terms of preparing for Auburn's offense, and you said that they present offensively, how important is it to win the first and second downs or make Auburn a one-dimensional offense to get them into those third and long?
Oh, it's critical. If they're playing, or anybody, if they're playing 3rd and 7 or more, 8, 9 or more, you're going to be at an advantage. You know that. That's just hard to do, to get people off schedule, especially the ones that are committed to the runs. And like I've told y'all before, they have, the point of attack is 3 different places on every play. It's the quarterback, it's the back, and then there's something outside of that, whether it's an RPO or some kind of screen game. They're always making you defend all over the field. And that's college football now, and they do a good job of it. So getting to 3rd and long is a bigger problem than being able to win 3rd and long.
I know when you guys last visited Auburn, the penalties were what probably had you the most upset after the game with just some uncharacteristic stuff. Do you kind of harp on that with this week, using those as examples with maybe some of your younger players?
I mean, we've had really good composure in most of our games, and that's what I try to harp on is the positive of we've shown good composure. We haven't retaliated, stupid penalties and swung on guys. And, you're going to have aggressive penalties. I want our guys to play aggressive, but I just don't want them to play stupid. And we did some dumb things in that game, but that wasn't the result of the game. The ultimate result was our inability to stop the run and inability to run the ball.
I think this is the fifth opponent that you're playing that's coming off a bye week. How much of an advantage is a bye week? How much more do you put in, or how much better does a team get, do you think?
Early in the season, I don't know how important those are because I don't know that you're to the point where you need recovery. So I would say the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, it's a push if somebody has a bye before you or you have one before them. But as it gets later in the year, it has an effect because you're able to get guys back. Because what happens, the cumulative effect of the games in sequence, you lose guys and you don't get recovery time. And when you get recovery time, you can bring some guys back. But it doesn't matter. We all got the same number of bye weeks, and most of us have had the same kind of stretch. Auburn had a really rough stretch there earlier in the year where they played consecutive teams. So it's just the way it fell this year, I guess.
Kirby, you're a coach's poll voter, I guess. The latest college football rankings come out tonight. There's some curiosity for folks just about like the top 4. How hard is it for you when you put together your stuff to decide who's 4, who's 5, or I don't know how much time you spend on it?
I don't spend a lot of time on it. I mean, I think it matters a whole lot more the next coming weeks than right now. So I don't spend a lot of time on it. Don't worry about it too much. It's hard because I don't actually get to see all the teams all the time either.
Right.
So I'm sure those other guys don't either. You try to watch them, but it's hard to watch every team because you're playing games too.
Coach, you talked about the red zone and having to maybe set up a 2-minute field goal as opposed to touchdown. During practice, a normal week of practice, how do you go about addressing that, and what can you actually do to
we spent a lot of time on the red zone. We start with it in meetings actually tomorrow. We talk about a game plan. We do it good on good every week. We take a series, and we've been fortunate defensively to have some good red area series where we get to put that defense out there and go against our offense. And our offense has won a lot of those battles against our guys, so I know they're capable. We just haven't finished off drives. Now, a lot of ours didn't get to the red area because red area statistics lie because it looks like we're doing pretty good, but a lot of them are field goals and a lot of them are outside the red area field goals. But we're not finishing off with touchdowns, and we got to do a better job of that.
When you look at the run blocking this year, how much, and you evaluate the O-line, how much does the way defenses are playing you, stacking the box, kind of figure into you?
They're not stacking it any more than they have ever. I mean, it's not like, there's more this year than there was last year. The fronts we see this year are very similar to the fronts we see last year. There's not a whole lot of difference as far as that goes. They're not playing them different. We're probably not hitting as many explosive runs, and we're definitely not hitting as many explosive passes to try to loosen them up. We probably see more hard boxes consistently than in the past. We would see the same boxes, just not as often. So if they were doing 70% hard box last year, it might be 80% hard box, but the boxes are very similar to what they normally are.
What's Jake sort of changed about himself since entering that 2017 game against Auburn to now?
He's just older. I mean, that was one of his first real road games that I remember. I mean, Notre Dame would have been up there, but that was his first SEC atmosphere that was of that caliber. And he did some good things in that game. But it's always a challenge when you go play on the road. I don't care what year you are. And he's got a lot of experience going on the road in the SEC. So, I mean, we've got a lot of guys on offense that have played. So, it's a great atmosphere and it's tough. But our kids got to go play. And it's not, none of those fans are going to go out there and play the game. So, we got to go play the game.
Was the South Carolina game, when you're having to face a guy like Javon Kinlaw in the middle, is that something you kind of look at when you go into facing a D-line like this with obviously Derrick Brown in center, big guy, like kind of the same mold?
Hey, everybody's got one. I mean, Kentucky had a big old nose, man, that was 380 pounds and was hell on wheels. And Florida had 2 guys in there that were really good players that'll be drafted. Missouri's got 2 that'll be, I mean, I'm not saying those people are Derrick Brown. Now, don't get me wrong. Derrick Brown is in a class of himself, and he is destructive. But there's guys like Kinlaw in our league, and Kinlaw's a really good player. So when you come to the SEC, you better be ready because there's guys across the board that play like that.
How's Taylor looking in practice last 2 days?
He's been good. He's taking all his reps, he's catching balls, he's doing what he's supposed to do, and hopefully we can keep him healthy.
So I know right before the season started, you spoke about the balance of kind of spending time with your family throughout the season, have that balance. But now that you've gone week to week here for a while, I know it's always week to week, but how special are those moments, I guess, when you get to have your kids and your wife down on the field celebrate a win with them, those moments like that?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, other than the relationship with the players and the coaches on the staff, that's why I do this, is to do it for my kids and for my wife. And I mean, I spend a lot of time away from them, so when I get to see them after a game, win or lose, it brings everything back in perspective. I mean, so much is put on winning and losing, and everything matters if you win, and everything's to just die. I mean, it's just terrible if you lose. And you see your kids and your wife, and that's not really what's important. And I think people lose sight of that a lot of times. That keeps things in perspective for me, and it's what's important to me. I want to be remembered for being a great husband and father a lot more than I do a coach.
You gave us an update yesterday on Trey Hill, saying you thought he was going to practice, but you needed to see him. How is he, and is Tyrique McGhee any closer to coming back?
I don't know about Tyrique. Hasn't been on practice any this week. He's been on the bike. He's been running some. He may clear and may be able to help us, but I don't know right now. Trey's been fine. He's taken all the reps and done everything.
Coach, to follow up on KJ, I mean, it's obvious that he's dealing with a chronic situation that he can't get well while he's playing in the season. Is he doing something special here? Like, no, I want to keep playing through the pain, as opposed to, a guy like him's a graduate, just say shut it down and I'm going to move on to the rest of my life.
No, I think he's not. I mean, you say special. I mean, he's very tough. He's playing with a tough injury to deal with, but it's his choice. Unless the doctors clear him, he has to make a choice on whether he wants to play or not. And he wants to play. If he's a competitor, that's why he came here. The last thing he wants to do is say, well, I'm going to take this week off and not play in this game and go try to heal up. That's not his perspective, because he knows that every game matters and that it matters to our team. And he's a team player. He's a competitor. I mean, he wants to go out and make plays, and he wants to do that for the brothers on his team. And he's not going to step away unless it has a chance to injure himself worse, and that's a medical decision.
Getting back to that combination of Derrick Brown and Marlon Davidson in the years you've been coaching, as far as the senior combo goes, kind of how do they stack up?
Yeah, they're special. They've been there for a long time. They've done a tremendous job. They're well coached. I mean, I would think in the SEC there's been combinations like that. I mean, I'm not going to say they're the only ones that have ever done it, but they are special and they're talented. And we recruited both of them to the wire and didn't get either one. They're good players.
Is preparing for this offense any different from the last couple of years where you've had Stidham, who's definitely more of a thrower, not as mobile as Nix is? Is that kind of different?
It's different. I mean, they allow Nix to do more with the run game. I mean, he pulls it. He makes good decisions. He very rarely is wrong when it comes to pulling the ball. And he runs the offense well. You can tell it's more than what Gus has been used to, as opposed to Stidham, who probably was more of a passer, but he was a good athlete too.
Kirby, I wanted to ask you, Lawrence, I know they're all big, all the games are, but Notre Dame, Florida, probably two highest ranked opponents this year. When you look at how Lawrence has performed in those two games, I mean, he's really played well. What is it you think that's about him knowing his personality that has allowed him to kind of step up and be kind of at his best in those biggest moments?
Just maturity. I mean, he's very mature. He's older. He's been around. I mean, he's played in big games at Miami, so maturity is the biggest thing. Is that the moment's not too big for him, and he's not one of these guys that gets overwhelmed with playing on a big stage. I think he was kind of made for it. He likes it. He embraces it.
Two more questions. What's impressed you about Jordan Davis this year?
Probably his consistency. I mean, he had the injury. He couldn't play against South Carolina, and that affected us. But he tried to go, and he's been dealing with the ankle injury. And other than that, he's been really consistent. And he embraces his role, and he's tough to block. I mean, he's a big part of our run stopping game.
What difference does Whitlow make for their running game if he's
Yeah.
there?
He's a big difference. He's a stud SEC back. He's physical. He's hard to bring down. I mean, he makes their run game tick because their run game is meant to be powerful downhill and bruising. And young kids come in and done a good job of that. And but Whitlow is a difference maker when it comes to that.
Thank you.
Thanks.